some real talk. Oh, I need some real talk. Give me some of that real talk.
Today's Real Talk, the show focused on North Carolina real estate. Justin Ckezepis, Claudia Ogrizek. Wow, our third hour today together.
I know.
You co-hosted Good Morning LKN with me this morning. You did a fantastic job, by the way. Not that you need praise from me or anything like that, but you did a great job.
Thank you, because I was coming here and I was a little tense because, you know, Mamie is great at what she does. And I'm like, oh my God, can I sub Mamie today? So.
Well, you don't have to worry about subbing for somebody else because what you do is great. You, I have no doubt, had a busy weekend, even though it was Mother's Day. Be honest. Did you have a bunch of real estate appointments this past weekend, even with Mother's Day holiday weekend?
Well, I did Friday and Saturday, yes. And I think most of my clients did it right away. So they started texting me as soon as houses hit the market, because usually that's what happens pre-weekends. And I think they left me almost alone, which is fine. But I had many clients texting me, showing things like I have listings getting ready. So they were showing me pictures of their pools being cleaned and flowers being planted. So nothing crazy yesterday. I did work at home a little just so my Monday is not too crazy.
All right. Homes hitting the market. You're getting messages about it. Is that an indication for what you to believe to be this week's stat results for our search? Active coming soon properties on Canopy MLS. So active on the market. 500,000 or less per county. Do you think we're up higher this week or lower than last week? Number of listings.
And once again, I forgot to write it down. So when will lower?
You think lower?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
It was what, 1,112? 1,112? Is
Something
that a number?
Like that. We'll go with that. We'll go with that one.
I would say a little less than 1,100, I would say.
Why do you think that? Because we're getting into summertime. The typical cycle, right? Springtime into summer, the number of listings picks up. And now when I say typical, you got to go back to pre-COVID for typical.
Yes. Is
there a reason why you think it would go down right now compared to just going up through the summer?
No, I'm just guessing.
Okay.
It's pure guess.
That's fair.
But talking about this, many people, and I knew, of course, spring market is the hottest one, is the one when people list their house, or most people list their house, and most people are looking for houses because they want to move in the summer because it's easier, especially if you have kids, so you're ready for when school starts. But we always say that you can list whenever you want, because people that need to buy will be ready whenever. Like, you can list your house Christmas Eve and there will be people, and what we actually see or usually see is that the serious buyers are ready for whenever. And many times in the spring market, you have more buyers, but many times, and you might disagree with me, I want your opinion, many times people know about the spring market and they are looking and touring home open houses just for fun. So yes, there are more people, but many times it's not necessarily people that are ready.
They're not ready, willing, and able.
Yes.
They're
and then
looky-loos, as
fall,
I call them.
Yes. And then fall, winter, whatever, people are ready. People don't leave their houses in the fall or winter just to look around. And I think in the spring, some do.
One of the narratives that exists in the real estate world is that most people move in the summertime because of the school system.
Yes.
Is that still true, you think?
I agree that people with families, with younger children, yes, their goal is to move. And I have many clients doing it right now. If they have children, most people want to do it before school starts. Number one, if they are changing school districts, so they have time to enroll and be ready for the next school with all the because of course you have to present your closing disclosure or your deed or your utility bill. So they want to do it in time to enroll. And even for people that are keeping or moving just in the same area, so going to the same school, just so you're ready, not worrying about unpacking and organizing the house. So families move in the summer. They want to move in the summer.
After your clients move into a house, do you abandon them or do you?
I'm like, don't talk to me anymore.
Doesn't it take like a year to move into a house? Like realistically?
It really depends on the person. Some people are right? Like they take a few days off and they get everything ready as soon as possible. So they leave that behind. And of course, there are people that will have moving boxes in their garage for months.
Ever.
Yes, forever. Oh, yes, forever. I've seen it in 10 years. There were people that came from out of state, put stuff in the garage, and 10 years later are moving again. And the things from their original state are in the, and I'm like, can we take them to Goodwill or Habitat for Humanity? It's,
Anywhere
there's a
but
sign.
here.
If you never open the box, don't tell me it's something special. Because they're like, oh, but I'm like, look, if you haven't touched it in years, if you never opened the box, don't tell me. Like nobody will ever convince me that something you have in that pack, in that box, is important if you leave it in the garage where you can have creatures and humidity and no.
But everyone's got that like one bin or one box that like just is like the live there forever. Do you have one of those that like you just keep that thing that you know is there? You don't want to see it. You don't need to see it. It's like, oh, like for you, your daughter may want it one day.
Not really.
Nothing?
Very little. I'm not attached to things.
Like nothing like deep family history, like 6 generations deep,
Well,
and it's the family heirloom.
You have to understand I came from Brazil, and I always tell Kevin the same thing. I'm like, because he likes keeping stuff, and I'm like, take it to Goodwill, take it to Habitat, throw it away. And he's like, oh, come on, it's important. I had to leave everything behind. So I couldn't, I donated, sold, because of course I love selling stuff. So I sold a bunch of stuff, I donated a bunch of stuff, and I came with my suitcases. So yes, I have a few, like stuffed animals or little things back in my parents' house, but it's maybe one, it's not a lot. And on the other hand, in my house, if you go to the garage, there are, a lot of stuff that he keeps. And I'm like, every time I'm like, can you go through? Oh, come on, you have to understand. I'm like, yeah, I left everything behind. You can do it too. I'm sure you can do it. So it's an everyday thing.
All right, so status of the market right now compared to last week, because I do feel like it's like week to week almost like what's happening. Is there any talk of the interest rates still from buyers? Are they still all about it? That's the only thing people are caring about right now? Or what else are people actually focusing on?
I would say the informed, educated buyers, yes, they are talking. They are worried about the interest rates. But if you have the conversation, you understand they're likely, I'm not saying all of them, I'm not saying that everyone should buy right now. I know it's shocking to say that.
It's okay.
Not everybody should necessarily, but I would say in most situations, if you really compare, you should, most should. But some people are not in the situation of buying, and then in that, I actually, yesterday, my Mother's Day, in the morning, I gave myself the right to go to the salon and have my manicure, my pedicure. So it was my auto gift, I guess, in the morning. And because we were going to have dinner. So I'm like, you know what? Let me take a moment right now to refresh my manicure and my pedicure. And as I was leaving, I saw clients of mine that rented a few years ago. So I stopped to say hi and wish her. The mom was there, wish her a happy Mother's Day. And we were talking. When we met, it was pre-COVID. They had moved here from Vegas. They had sold their house, and they were not 100% sure where they wanted to live. So I'm like, look, honestly, even though I like selling, I think you should rent. And then COVID hit.
Today's Real Talk, the show focused on North Carolina real estate. Justin Ckezepis, Claudia Ogrizek of Compass Real Estate. You were telling us about some potential buyers that decided pre-COVID not to buy and decided to rent. You saw them this past weekend. Are they still renting? They
are still renting. They are the same house because back then, with everything that was going on in their lives, and I think they arrived here almost at like school. They have 3 kids, so they needed to be ready. They didn't know the area too well. They had a very specific area they wanted. We couldn't find anything, so they ended up renting. Then COVID hit, prices went crazy. We tried a little, like a year later, we tried a little, but then again, COVID. So multiple offers, crazy. And they're still at the house. They're like, we want to buy. We are aware that now, and it's true because of the interest rates, they're like, we know that we are not going to get anything close to what we pay. I think they pay $1,800 for a 4-bedroom house. And I said, yeah.
Surprised the owner of that house is still renting it for $1,800
Yeah.
even.
And,
you know what I mean?
And that's the thing. She's like, it's hard because they are pretty much just raising like $100 a year. And we know that buying right now will be expensive. So we go back and forth. Like we hate renting because we are throwing money in the garbage. Can we do it? And knowing we're going to pay, I don't know, $2,800. So it's going to cost a lot more. Not in a regular situation. I think they've been lucky with a nice landlord just raising $100 a year. But she's like, let's have lunch this week and let's see if we can, because I'm telling buyers right now, I'm like, I understand. Back in the day, I used to say, look, you're going to pretty much pay the same thing that you're paying for rent, throwing money in the garbage. You're going to pay your mortgage and right. It's not what's happening right now. So you are paying more for the same house. You're going to pay whatever, $2,100 renting and $2,700, depending on how much you put down, buying. So if you don't have that extra money, keep renting, try to save money, try to make changes in your life so you can save. But if you have the money, stop wasting because you're throwing money in the garbage when you rent.
Hot take.
Yeah, by the way, I had a super nice Mother's Day because at night, my baby, my almost 18-year-old baby came cuddle with the mommy and we started talking about her life and childhood. And she remembers, I'm very happy to say that she remembers most of it, even the silly things. Because I always wonder, like as parents, we do so much, how much do they remember? So she remembers a lot. And she was talking about the past and also the future. And then she started talking about real estate and like talking about friends, families that have not, too nice of a car when they don't actually have a house. So they're like, why are they paying, $1,000 to have a car they don't actually afford? Like they can, but they shouldn't because then they are in an apartment. Yeah. And she was like, they should invest. They should know where to. And that made my Mother's Day, it was amazing because I'm like, oh my God, she's listening and she's learning and hopefully she's going to use it in the future. She'll know how to spend the money.
She ended the conversation with, and Mom, I'm going to be a flight attendant.
I hope so. Actually, no, she said that she might do CPCC for 2 years and then go to UNCC or college for 2 other years. And I'm like, weren't you going to be a flight attendant? But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
UNCC is a great school.
I know.
We have some great schools in our area.
And now it's an R1.
There you go. Said that. It is a research, R1 level research academy, I guess, or something to do with really good, something good. It's a good thing to be an R1 school. Do you find, I guess, refresh my memory on the rule. How much are you allowed to answer about schools when people ask you about schools?
If you follow the rules, not much. I think the right thing to do is give them the websites where you can research.
Do you think that's okay? Do you think you should be able to talk about schools?
No, but what I do, no, because you don't know what the parents expect. It's the same thing, the whole fair housing, the protected classes and everything we're not supposed to talk about. It's more about being careful with my opinion and your opinion, because of course everyone has their own idea of like, is a neighborhood safe? Is the school good? I can judge. I can't say, no, this is not a good school. This is not a safe area. So I understand. And I'm like, this is you can check if the neighborhood or an area is safe by looking at this website.
Yeah, but if a school's got a D rating and there's a school with an A rating, you don't think you should be allowed to say, hey, this school, as far as the standards that have been set of education, this one performs better?
Well, now that's the thing. What I tell people, without giving too much, not to cross the line, but what I tell people is be very careful when you see that, because I think those numbers are not fair. So what I tell people is, like, instead of looking at a school and say, oh, this is an A, this is a D, I say go there and look at every single detail, analyze the whole thing, and then don't let, especially the one everybody looks at, which is driven by a lot of parents giving their opinion. So, it's not necessarily a number. So I'm like, be very careful. But even if you use the one everybody does, go check each stat why this is the number, and you will see the truth. So I hate, and that's why I'm like, go there, just make sure you check, because I think it's very unfair. The D, the C, the B, many times it has nothing to do with the actual school and what the school provides. It's more about where the school is and what, who is feeding the school. And I prefer to use, for instance, Mecklenburg. I don't know it by heart, but Mecklenburg, instead of, the big, it's like using Zillow. Like, no, Zillow doesn't have the truth. Can I say the name of the great schools?
Say whatever you want.
I just said it. Great schools. It's, it's the Zillow of schools. So they, it's not a fact. So I say, for instance, for Mecklenburg schools have an actual, based on data that you can look at and really see the actual numbers. So that's my thing about schools. Like, don't go for the A or the D with grade schools without truly, truly analyzing each fact of how they get to that point.
Schools, I bet, is a common one where you have to give the disclaimer a lot of times. I would imagine the crime one is interesting to me, just given our area, because most people are going to research something about the area, or they have lived here and they've been renting, and so they're familiar. Do you get the crime question a lot?
A lot.
Really?
Yes, all the time.
I find that surprising.
All the time. And I'm like, guys, again, I can't. So I give them the resource. I'm like, go check, put the area, put the address, put a week, a month, and take a look. And I also say, don't look if it's all crazy, because let's say if you look at Uptown, it's like you would never live Uptown. If you saw without analyzing, you would never choose to live Uptown. So I'm like, before you go crazy when you see an area that seems too colorful, go and check what kind of crimes. Because many times, and I'm not saying there are dangerous areas in Charlotte, of course, in the whole metropolitan area, but look at the crimes, because many times it's something silly like disturbance, like noise. So people will call 911 or call the police. But if you take a look at that, you see that it's not a big deal. So I always say, check, and don't freak out if you see too many signs without actually checking the kinds of crime. But yeah, people ask me all the time, which is very hard because, in people's minds, they are using us to help decide.
The brokers, you're talking about brokers.
The brokers, the realtor, right? So they want to say like, or when they say, hey, Claudia, I'm looking for a house, $750,000 in Cornelius, safe. Well, Cornelius, it's too easy. Let's say, West Charlotte, safe, no crime, good schools. And I'm like, guys, I can't do it. So look at this.
Crime can happen anywhere. Cornelius, anywhere. West Charlotte,
yeah,
it doesn't matter. It can happen anywhere.
Let's be honest. Of course, it's...
Hey, there was a group of youngins stealing from cars in my neighborhood.
Oh, all the time. My neighborhood all the time. So this is actually one example I use when people say, come on, why? I'm like, the break-ins, whenever it rains in my neighborhood, we have break-ins.
Really?
Oh, it's raining. You can
sit outside and watch.
No, but I know because the next day people on Facebook is like, oh my God, my car. And is my neighborhood safe? I think it is. Oh, but the break-ins. I'm like, yeah, because
it's only a break-in.
It's a break-in, but people get like, oh my God, this is crazy. I'm like, okay, people leave purses, computers, guns, cash. Kids come, take advantage of the noise of the rain, and many people don't lock their cars because it makes it easier. They don't want to have the glass.
Or they feel safe.
Is it a dangerous neighborhood, in my opinion. No, you're just giving people a chance to take advantage of whatever you leave in your car. Can I make this judgment for you if I'm helping you buy a house? Maybe you think it's crazy that someone would come in the middle of the night to take your computer from your car. I think it's like you're asking for it. So I cannot judge. So I'm like, go there, check for yourself, and then you tell me, what area. But I remember when I was not an agent and I had the realtor, I remember asking, because I had no idea, where, like Brazilians, do you know where? Because I wanted Nina to possibly have Brazilian friends. So I'm like, do you know where Brazilians live? And he's like, I'm not going to tell you. I'm like, why? He's like, I'm not going to tell you. He didn't explain why. So I was like, what? And then when I took the class, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Sense.
Fair housing. We're not supposed to say it.
All right, so education and crime you can't talk about, but there are some things that have to be disclosed.
Yes. Material facts.
Today's Real Talk, the show focused on North Carolina real estate. Justin Ckezepis alongside Claudia Ogrizek of Compass Real Estate. All right, you were talking about fair housing. We were talking about education and schools, what you can and can't say. We talked about crime, what you can and can't say. But all of the other disclosures that matter, I'll tell you a quick story. So in my neighborhood, and it's a sad story. It's actually not really happy, but there was a guy down the street, nicest guy ever. His wife had health issues, and he took care of her for a long time. But then when she passed, he made the tragic decision to commit suicide inside of the house via a gun in the bathroom.
Okay.
But you don't have to disclose if someone has died inside of a house. Have you ever had a scenario that you knew or didn't know or wanted to know anything about like death related in a house?
I've never had anyone ask. And I found out after my clients were there. I had no idea, but I found out after they had bought that someone had died in the house. And I'm like, okay, now what,
What
I had no idea because we don't have to disclose, but I've never had people ask me, actually. It's something that doesn't, I guess, cross people's minds, and I'm not going to poke them with that.
Prompt them on
hey,
it?
let's try to find out.
Should we find out?
Even though I am a Dateline addict, I actually don't try to find out. I don't think I want to. I remember one day I was showing a home that was vacant, and I got and I was with my client, and we both felt something super weird. We laughed, we both just looked at each other and ran out of the house. I don't know. And I don't know if because I was so afraid of checking and finding out that someone had died. But we were just like, okay, no. And we ran out of the house.
Is that a fear of yours? Haunted houses?
I guess. I don't know. But it was the weirdest thing. And I'm like, for a second, I'm like, I'm not going to. But then my client looked at me kind of like, did you feel that? I'm like, yeah. And then we just ran.
What's the show where they find the ghosts or whatever? You guys could have done something like that.
Something like that. I'm gonna. My mom watches those every. I'm addicted. I love Dateline. She likes the Ghost Hunters. I'm like, do they ever? No. I'm like, so why do you keep watching?
You don't have to disclose if somebody died. You do have to disclose if the house was a meth house.
Yes. And hopefully I've never been, I don't know. And they say there is a certain smell. I don't know. I've never been to one. So I've never been to a meth house. I've never taken the orange thingy from Panera or the other thing.
Oh, the death drink?
Kratten.
Yeah, okay. Oh, here we go. You're back to the morning show.
By the way, I'm watching you.
Yeah?
I'm worried.
About my coffee intake?
Yes. So
it's getting worse.
How many have you had since 7 a.m? Like 5? You're going to have a thing. Yeah, stop.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Because I have one and I've been
you've
sipping.
done very well.
Yeah, I
So
sip.
controlled.
I am.
Is it a cold brew or is it hot in there?
No, it's hot.
Does it stay hot in that thermos
Yes,
you've got?
mm-hmm.
Wow.
People love to say you have the pink one, Stanley. And Yeti.
Denny's, but yeah.
This is better.
Thermos is better.
Oh, I have a very old one that is peeling right now. And my daughter got me this green thermos because she knows this is the best one. So I'm all for. It's not trendy. Maybe it will when now I show it, but it's the best one. And yeah, it's still hot. And I did it like at 6:30 in the morning. What time is it? I don't even know.
We broke the news a couple of weeks ago. What was not trending anymore is cool grays. But wait, let me say the word. Don't say it. Grayish? Grayish is trending.
Yes.
What else is trending right now as it heats up is the lake. More people coming onto the lake.
100%.
What's the lakefront property scene like right now as far as for buyers, for sellers? Are they flying off the shelves in the luxury market, or is it staying, are we stagnating a little bit?
No, I actually feel that the luxury market is the craziest. If I had to guess, I think multiple offers and bidding wars are happening more in the luxury market than not, because people that have money and have cash, they come full force for it. And then the people with, let's say, the 300, 400,000, which is crazy to say is like the starter home nowadays here, they are affected by interest rates. Most of them are taking loans, so it's much harder. You can have multiple offers or 500 I've had in my listings, but I think the luxury market, people have so much money that the interest rate does not affect them. Many have cash, so it's crazy. And as we were talking about going vertical, you don't make land. So it is what it is. If you can grab a house on the lake, you do it. And for people that want to move here, they'll pay, they'll pay for it.
You see a lot of land buyers these days? Are people buying?
Many people do want to buy, but I think that most people looking for land don't actually understand that buying land or building is way more complicated than it seems. So people's like, oh, let me get land. And I'm like, okay, there's clearing. There's, if it's not on city water or if there's no tap connected, it's a lot of money, no septic system. And then you have the percolation test to see if it will take, and then the cost of clearing, like everything. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, and the zoning. So there are so many things before you even get to the point of like, can I build a house? And there's a lot of money that you have to invest to, unless it's a cleared lot connected to city water and sewer. There's a lot of money not knowing what's going to happen. And people don't realize that. So when I'm like, okay, we can do it, but be aware, you're going to spend some money investigating to see if it's worth the money and if you want to do it, if you want to go there.
Oh, it's high risk. Very high risk.
I would say so. Of course, when it's land, you don't give, you don't pay due diligence money, and the due diligence period is super long because you need time to investigate, but you need money to do it.
It costs more, due diligence costs more, and that, that typically goes into the commercial realm. But interesting thought. So you're the new construction queen as well. I, for the first time, and I don't know, and I'm saying this in beyond even my 12 plus years of being a licensed broker and growing up in real estate, I read an article this weekend about a tract home neighborhood in South Carolina from one of the major builders that had septic. Have you ever seen the major builders utilize septic systems?
No, I have one right now. It's not septic, but it's close to Lake Wiley, and they have a kind of a pump. Every single house comes with and it's one of the major builders. Actually, I just got a text from my client. They have a pump to help with the sewer because it's it's not a septic, but kind of an elevation. Yes. Yeah. But no, I never heard of a major
builder. Can I tell you the name of the builder?
Sure.
D.R. Horton.
Okay.
Major builder.
Actually, the one with the pump is D.R. Horton as well.
Interesting to me that they would ever build a community on septic.
That is.
Because that's major risk, right? Like for a developer and a builder.
How do you do that? Like each house with a septic?
There's two different ways. And I can't speak to South Carolina. I'm not licensed in South Carolina, so I can't speak to that. But in North Carolina, depending on the zoning, depending on the soil, depending on the watershed, all these factors, you could have either individual systems per house or you can create a community system, depending.
Okay.
But I thought it was very interesting to read that a major builder, and would go with a septic system. Is that lean to even the builders are compromising on properties that they're developing even at that point because of how low inventory is?
I guess, but I don't think I would be inclined to get to buy in a neighborhood with a
new construction neighborhood, pure septic.
Of my own septic, sure, but a community one, I don't know. I don't know what my neighbors are throwing.
You don't like
in
sharing tanks with your neighbors?
No.
That's what neighbors are about.
Because I don't know what they're throwing. And, if they are being careful with the system, and then I'm going to have to pay for my neighbor's mistakes. I wouldn't be very, unless it's a perfect house.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Isn't that what that saying is?
I don't know.
Is that what that applies to in the septic world?
I'm Brazilian. We don't have that saying in my country.
Does Brazilian have a lot of septic systems?
No.
Really?
I mean, maybe in the country. I come
You're
from a large city. Yes.
Rio?
No.
What city?
Curitiba.
How many people? How many?
The metropolitan area, probably 3.5 million.
Dang.
Yes.
That's a lot. That's 3 times the size of Mecklenburg County. 3 times the population of Mecklenburg County.
It's pretty, and we have many tall, actually, this is the thing I miss, the tall buildings, the sidewalks.
You know why I don't want
Walkability.
community septic? Because flushable wipes aren't flushable.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Today's Real Talk, the show focused on North Carolina real estate. Justin Ckezepis, Claudia Ogrizek of Compass Real Estate. It's come time now, Claudia, for the weekly guess of the stat. Okay, you know my favorite stat I like to look at? It is active and coming soon listings. So on market in Canopy MLS, the local MLS, 500,000 or less by county. We always start with Mecklenburg County because Mecklenburg County population 1.1 million. You would expect a reasonable amount of active and coming soon listings under 500,000 because of wages, income, right? Makes sense to qualify for a loan. Yep. So last week we were at what, 1,112, you said, I think?
So.
All right, so this week, you think it's higher or lower?
I think it's just below 1,100.
You think it's below?
Like a tiny bit.
You don't think it's
like
higher?
1,089.
You don't think that there's more properties on the market today?
No, because I'm trying to find stuff for my buyers and I can't.
All right, Claudia Ogrizek. As I click through these things, trying to get to the question I've asked you.
Because you don't know. I thought you wrote down or something.
No, I didn't write it down. All right, Claudia.
Yes.
Mecklenburg County.
Let's do it.
Mecklenburg County, 500,000 or less, active or coming soon. Oh, dang.
Do I get a prize?
You said it's less?
It's less. I said 1,089.
1,089. It's more, actually.
No way.
1,183.
Wow, I was 10%. Okay.
So, should have called a friend.
I know. Too late now.
Do you have someone you can call in that scenario?
Sure, any agent.
To look up in the MLS? So, it's slightly higher.
It is.
If it was actually 1,112, unless it was a different number.
I guess my current buyers right now are in a tougher segment, I guess, because I don't see it happening to my buyers. I have right now, I would say my A buyers, as we call them.
A means like qualified, ready to go.
Ready to go.
Would pull the trigger now if you told them
yes, to. I think they, right now, I would say they are all kind of at a higher price point, so it's been kind of tough for them. Not too many higher, not too high, like regular, we are 800 to 1.2.
That's a high number though for the market.
And we can't find it.
Finding pre-COVID 800 to 1.2, you could be on the water for that.
Yeah, not
easily,
not,
not even close anymore. It seems like I saw a land listing about a month or so ago. It popped up. It was like 3/4 of an acre, half acre, 3/4 on the water. It was nice open water, but it was $900,000.
I think I saw that one.
And it was like Catawba. It was like Cheryl's Ford, and I was like, "What?" But this is the norm.
Cheryl's Ford Lake Norman?
Definitely,
that's the question.
It is because it was on the lake.
It's on.
So 500,000. I use that because of trying to think of income in the area. If the average median income, let's say for Mecklenburg County, is 80,000, give or take, which is I believe the most recent number. It used to be pre-COVID, I would think first-time home buyer, like 200s, let's call it. That was kind of the first time. When you talk to a first-time home buyer, what's the price point in this area you tell them is reality if they want to live here?
3 something.
So you think you can get somebody in there for threes, in the threes?
I mean, Mecklenburg, and yes, you can.
Okay.
You can.
That's a good,
Not necessarily an awesome house, but you can.
Something that you are confident in, and this is obviously based on experience and, taking some guesses at the future and everything, that won't be underwater in theory in a couple of years?
I believe so, yes. I'm very, I'm very careful when I talk to clients. I tend to be almost, I don't want to say negative, but I'm pretty realistic. I'm like, you have to understand when you buy a house, especially if you're a renter, like new bills will be part of your life. So I always say buy, if don't get too excited with the loan approval, because I think they push it and I don't like it. I wish the numbers would would be a little tougher, because I think you can get a house for 49% debt to income ratio, which I think it's crazy to think that half of what you make to pay a mortgage when you have supermarket, car, gas, clothes, medicine, and everything else. So I always tell my clients, get approved, and then we look for, let's say, a third of what you make. And I also say, even doing that in the beginning for a few months, don't go crazy buying stuff. Like, try to be as frugal as you can to learn how to become a homeowner. So see, lawn maintenance, utilities, everything that can happen. So take it easy. Don't buy anything. Go very frugal, basic. And then after a while, when you say, okay, I can do it, I can live a regular life being a homeowner, then you do it. So I'm very, it's almost like maternal, especially for first-time buyers, and I love working with them. It's like, learn how to become a homeowner. Like, see what it costs to be a homeowner, and then little by little, you add stuff, like extra stuff that you might want.
So all around Lake Norman, all around Charlotte, surrounding area. I believe last time I asked you what your favorite kind of spot was these days. Loso? Is that was it you that said Loso? Lower South End? No. What's your favorite spot then around between Lake Norman, Charlotte, and surrounding area? What's got you excited?
Spot for what?
In general, like for people buyers to start looking areas like let's say price conscious buyers.
Does it have to be in Charlotte?
No, it could be all around the area. Because I think commuting is becoming a big part of the conversation.
Yes, I would say if your budget is limited, and depending on how much you're willing to drive, I don't want to say it because I want to buy there, invest, but
there'll be a property for you,
I would say Mount Holly. If you're very lucky, you might find something in Belmont. I love Belmont, and I think it's an amazing area to buy. Canapolis. And if you're willing to drive, and then you can get Cheerwine fresh from Salisbury.
Oh, yes. Salisbury.
Yes. Super cute town, super affordable right now. If you have the time, and if you don't mind driving, I would say buy there and get the money later. But if you are in Charlotte, probably I would say West Charlotte, a little more diverse. So it needs the right buyer, but if you are willing to see the area develop, you can make tons of money in the future. Are we talking about making money?
Well, it could be. I mean, because I
not even as an investment,
sure.
Investor-wise, even if you are a buyer, you will have more equity, I think, over time in these areas.
And that's part of the game, right? When you buy your primary residence, and I do stick to the traditional finance principle that it's not an asset, it's a liability, because it's not making you money, it's costing you money. Granted, you're saving in a different way. It's a different type of saving category because you utilize the equity, right, as a potential form of saving. It's no different than when you put it into a Roth IRA and you can't touch it till you're 65, right, or 60, whatever the number is, 62 and a half, whatever the number is. Well, your house, that's your primary residence, that the money you're putting into it by paying the mortgage down is like a form of savings that you can't touch really until you refinance or you sell the property.
Oh, gosh. Talking about this, can we talk about something that there was a conversation we had yesterday, actually, about the whole equity and making money and not making money, like visible money,
cash,
but over time.
Yeah.
We were talking about people that refi and take equity from the house. I honestly feel that there should be some kind of a alarm or extra care when you do that, because I know people that have done it quite often. They keep taking the equity. And for me, this is a silly, naive or way to live beyond your means, taking equity off the house. And after a few years, when you are selling, you find out you're not making any money. And they're like, oh, people say you make money, but we're not making any money. I'm like, because you took all the equity over the years. And what I see way too often, and I do not like, is that many times the wives are not aware of it. So I don't know if they are faking it, like, oh, let me pretend I don't know. I'm living beyond my means by taking all the equity from my house. But I've seen wives saying, oh, I had no idea that. I'm like, where did you think the money was coming from? So I don't know if it's just a sign without really knowing, or if but I've seen people get super upset because they found out they were walking away without money. And I'm like, yeah, because you took all the equity. Every 2-3 years, you take a home equity line, you restart the whole mortgage thing again, and now you don't have any money.
It was very interesting you bring that up, because as a closing attorney, right before I exited my practice, there was a lot of those times when I saw a lot of buyers at the table, right? A lot of buyers represented by a lot of different brokers, had a lot of different lenders. And there were some buyers where you sit at the table and you wonder, man, is this going to end up as a foreclosure or a short sale within the next couple of years? And then I think back to 2008, right? And I wasn't a broker at the time, but my dad was, and my family went through that, like on the real estate side. And like that was the income we produced as a household. And you wonder, okay, so whose job is it to say something, right? Because you've got a lender who qualifies. Now, by all financial standards, they've qualified for a loan. It's a legit loan. Most of the time, it's be like an FHA or VA loan, right? But then you get into the concept of like just wherewithal of owning a property. Should there be more education in that realm, you think, before? Or are we okay with, hey, if they qualify, whatever happens, happens?
I think it depends. I mean, I think it's our job to do it. That's why I say I'm almost bossy or something, because I want people to know, do I think people should buy houses? Yes. But I want to make sure they understand what goes through it. And many times, I mean, pretty much every lender thanks me, because they're like, your buyers come and they know, they understand the whole thing. And attorneys say the same thing. Closing attorneys say, oh my God, your clients came ready. It's crazy. They understand the closing disclosure. They understand the whole thing. Because I think my job, it's not, of course, lenders should do it because they are talking about the money. But because I know many lenders don't, I do. I teach them.
All right, last bit of the show, Maintenance Monday.
Gutters and roof.
Ooh.
Rough.
Got to take care of them.
Very, like, clean your gutters. And the roof needs to be washed every now and then. If you want to keep, it's a good idea to hire a professional to wash your roof and maintain it for longer.
Okay, Claudia Ogrizek, get on your roof and mop it. Give your roof a good mopping.
Did you know that?